In my sophomore year of high school, Delilah, the school belle, wrote a love letter to me as a joke in the name of Cain, the school bully. Unexpectedly, when Cain found out, he was so angry that he actually started pursuing me. Only I took it seriously and believed their lame excuse that they were just good friends. However, many years later, the school belle regretted it. She said, "Do you know him even 1/10 as well as I do? You don't understand what it means to have a soul connection at all." I couldn't help retorting. "Then why didn't you two get together?" With just this one sentence, the school belle committed suicide by jumping off a building on the day of our wedding. Since then, Cain hated me to the core. On the wedding night, he lit a gas tank and said he would take me to hell to atone for our sins. I died in excruciating pain as I was burned alive in the fire, while he jumped out of the window and escaped when the fire started. When I woke up again, I was back in the afternoon when the school belle stuffed the love letter into my desk. A week before the wedding, Delilah asked me to meet for afternoon tea. With a hint of sarcasm, she asked me, "Aurora, do you know who wrote that love letter back then?" "What do you mean?" "I wrote it." "Cain never wrote that love letter at all. I was just joking with him at that time." "But who knew he was so angry that he actually got together with you?" "Joking? Are you saying you've been joking for 10 years? Aurora, I know we're sorry for you. I really didn't mean to hurt you. But I really can't lose him. I regret it." My face turned completely cold. Anyone would feel unlucky if they encountered such a thing before their wedding. But she seemed oblivious and reached out to grab my arm to plead. I dodged in disgust. She stood up emotionally and said, "It's not too late for you to let go now. Do you know him even 1/10 as well as I do? You don't understand what it means to have a soul connection at all. Then why didn't you two get together?" I retorted sarcastically. Then I picked up my bag and left. When Cain came home from work in the evening, I grabbed him and asked him about this matter directly. His explanation to me was that the love letter was indeed written by Delilah as a joke at that time. But his love and care for me over the years were absolutely real. He said he was an adult. How could he have been with someone for 10 years just out of spite? As he said this, he kissed my forehead and ruffled my hair, saying, "Aurora, I was also very angry when I saw her making that kind of joke. But without that joke, we wouldn't have had any connection. Let's just think of it as a beautiful misunderstanding." Beautiful? She regrets that misunderstanding now. She said I don't know you even 1/10 as well as she does. Why do you listen to her crazy talk? She's an insignificant person. As long as she doesn't affect our happy life, that's all that matters. Our relationship had come a long way, and I didn't have any evidence of his actual infidelity. As he said, they hadn't been in much contact since graduation, except for a class reunion 2 months ago where they met once. So I believed him. Then I looked forward to becoming his bride with great anticipation. On the wedding night, he saw off all the guests and had a cup of nuptial wine with me. There was a drug in the wine. I was wide awake but couldn't move. His eyes were bloodshot, and he stared at me full of hatred, saying, "Aurora, you already have everything. Why did you have to say those words to provoke her? Who is she? Do you still want to pretend? My dear wife? Delilah is dead. Are you happy now? She jumped off a building and died. Are you satisfied? So you think I'm the one who killed her? Who else could it be if not you?" His emotions became more and more agitated, and his whole face and neck turned red. A bone-chilling coldness rose up my back. I tried to soothe him, but it was useless. He directly lit the gas tank and said to me, "Aurora, Delilah died so miserably. How can we have the nerve to live on? Come with me to atone for our sins with her." There was a violent impact, and the fire instantly enveloped me. I was burned to death in such excruciating pain. Because of the drug, I couldn't even move, and there was no possibility of saving myself. But this scoundrel jumped out of the window and escaped. When I woke up again, I actually found myself back in my sophomore year of high school. In the afternoon, when Delilah stuffed the love letter into my desk, I was 27 years old when I died. Just 3 years after graduating from graduate school. I worked very hard every day and managed to work my way up to the position of department manager in the company. My parents were ordinary workers. And they had supported me through more than 20 years of schooling. Just when I was about to let them live a better life, Cain's fire destroyed everything. The flames raged, and every inch of my skin was burned. The unbearable pain only ended when I took my last breath at dawn. All my efforts and my life were gone in an instant. I couldn't even imagine how painful it would be for my parents to lose their only child in their old age. Why? Why? How could that scumbag man who turned black into white shift the blame onto me? Didn't he know who wrote that love letter? Didn't he know whether he wrote it or not? Did I ask him to pursue me? To pester me? Did I force him to be with me for 10 years? After that self-righteous crazy woman came to me, didn't I ask him to clarify the matter? After she died, he suddenly couldn't bear to part with her and felt guilty. Then what was he doing all that time before? He wanted to atone for his sins. But after he caused my miserable death, he escaped. I crumpled the test paper in my hand. I looked up at the wall clock on the blackboard at the front of the classroom. It was the break time after the first class in the afternoon. After the last class in the afternoon, that crazy woman would proudly stuff that love letter into my desk. Then, when Cain came into the classroom after playing basketball, she would start to stir up trouble. She blatantly disrespected me and was so mean. She simply covered it up with a joke. She was really into the brothers thing in high school. Whenever Cain bought her something or helped her get hot water, she would exaggerate and say, "Brothers are the best." Or she would sigh, "My son finally knows how to take care of his dad." She already had a legitimate boyfriend at that time. But she couldn't bear to give up the ambiguous relationship with this fish Cain. And she maliciously thought that Cain would definitely look down on a girl like me. Because in high school, I got hungry easily and ate a lot. I was 1.7 meters tall, but weighed 67.5 kilograms. They gave me nicknames, saying I was a Russian strongman and that I was tall and burly. While Delilah was 1.56 meters tall and only weighed 41.5 kilograms. She looked light, delicate, and cute. She thought that love letter could not only make fun of a girl like me, whom she looked down on, but also show Cain's concern for her. But she didn't expect it to backfire. Her fish actually had the audacity to really swim out of her fish pond. Over the years, this matter should have been buried in the passage of time. But at that class reunion, Cain, who was completely different, made her regret it. Back then, she looked down on that idle school bully and didn't want him as her boyfriend. 10 years later, this highly educated, high-income, and polite man in front of her made her feel that I had taken advantage of her. She never thought about how Cain had become what he was. It was me who patiently tutored him, breaking down textbooks and test papers bit by bit for him, urging him to study. I helped him go from a student who didn't even know about the top 100 students list in the school to someone who, when repeating a grade, was admitted to a 211 university with the 30th highest score in the school. Delilah was whispering with her so-called brothers, and gave me a malicious look. In my previous life at this moment, I was a bit cowardly and silently endured the nicknames they gave me. I was so stupid that I didn't know that the more I gave in, the more they would take advantage of me. According to Delilah's grades, she wasn't qualified to be in our class. Her parents paid a large sponsorship fee so that she could sit in the same classroom as us. Even so, she kept complaining about the unfairness, saying that the school was selling the spots so expensively and that it might as well just rob people. She also said that the teachers used the money she paid to subsidize those shameless people. She was indirectly referring to me. Because of my good grades. As soon as I entered the school waived all kinds of tuition and miscellaneous fees for me. Moreover, I received a special subsidy for textbooks and materials every month, as well as a food subsidy. After each exam, I would also receive various bonuses and prizes. But these weren't given to me for nothing. The school expected me to get good grades and be admitted to a good university to bring glory to the school. You think you suffered a loss by paying to get into our class, right? Well, now I'll help you with that. Delilah. I took the test paper and went to the 5th floor to find Ms. Liu, our math teacher. The little old lady had been teaching for almost 30 years. She had a fiery temper. But she had taught several students who got full marks in math. The school was trying every means to keep her and was even discussing rehiring her after retirement. I was one of the students she cared about the most in this grade. I picked a problem that she couldn't finish explaining in a short time. Sure enough, after the class bell rang, she said with unfinished intentions, "We'll finish explaining this in the afternoon before having dinner. I'll come to the classroom to find you." I nodded obediently, and agreed. After the last class in the afternoon, I pretended to go for dinner, leaving them some space. In fact, I waited not far downstairs. Sure enough, it wasn't long before I heard the little old lady's furious voice. "What are you doing? Joking? Why don't you play a joke on your parents?" Along with that love letter. The insulting little notes that Delilah had stuffed to me before were also found. "You big and burly girl. You're so tall and stupid. Don't you really feel inconvenient in your actions? You've been pretending to be honest and simple, haven't you? You come to school to take advantage of your classmates. We pooled money to support your studies. Are you overjoyed? Your family must have saved a lot, right? Is your family really poor? Or are you just pretending? You're so poor. But you're even fatter than a pig. Dear classmate big and burly. I want to tell you something. Don't be unhappy about it. I really think you eat like a pig fighting for food. It's a bit disgusting. Can you please eat on a different floor in the future? I don't want to see you. There's no malice. I just think we should stay away from each other to avoid conflicts." Anger made me unable to hold back, and I cursed back. "Is the lack of manners in your family's genetics? I haven't even complained that you're so affected when you eat that it makes people want to vomit. Who wants to be grouped with you? It's you who couldn't get into your own ability and had to come here with a shameless face by paying the fee. Okay?" As soon as I started to fight back, those few people laughed in unison. Ouch. Ouch. The top student is swearing too. Forget it. Forget it. Someone can read a few books and thinks they're so great. Be careful that this goody two shoes of the teachers will go and tattle later. These malicious jokes came to an end after Cain started to pursue me. Cain used me to pick a fight with her. Deliberately got into conflicts with her. And defended me. Ridiculously. I was actually touched. I thought he was one of the few classmates with a sense of justice. In order to help me, he cut ties with and quarreled with his good buddies. So even though I didn't accept his pursuit at first, I still gave him some of my compiled notes and took the initiative to explain problems to him. As soon as I reached the door of the classroom, I heard the voice of the little mistress scolding, "Delilah. If you think the fee is expensive, you can choose not to be in our class. You can even go to the principal or the person who collected the fee from you. What kind of ability is it to take it out on innocent people? Do you really think the school is short of your meager money? Even if all of you who got in by paying the fee were kicked out, and 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 students like her or a came, the school could still afford them. How thin are you? Should we give you a certificate of merit? Are you so proud? What are you doing here? Go to a beauty pageant. What kind of ability is it to bully classmates here? You're quite good at writing love letters. Why didn't you show such ability when taking the Chinese exam? What's the point of writing this? I was just joking. I didn't mean it." Delilah cried with tears streaming down her face. Joking? Harassing and insulting others. Trampling on someone else's dignity is called joking? When you enter society in the future, if you kill someone, can you also explain it as a joke? The commotion in the classroom was so loud that many students rushed back, including Cain. When he saw Delilah crying pitifully, he immediately stepped forward and said, "Teacher, I wrote that love letter. I like Aurora and want to pursue her. So I asked Delilah to help me deliver the love letter." The little mistress was so angry that she laughed, and then turned to look at him and said, "You must be so touched. Playing the hero to save the beauty. Right? There are surveillance cameras in the classroom. I'm going to call the academic affairs office to retrieve the surveillance footage now. If it's not as you said, then I can only assume that you two have premeditated lie and maliciously colluded together to drag an innocent girl into this mess. Then our class, or rather, our school, doesn't welcome students like you very much. The purpose of our school's existence is to enable everyone to study hard and make efforts in learning. Even for students from ordinary families. It's to help them change their fate through learning and the path of the college entrance examination. Otherwise, who would study here day and night with you? If I don't deal with what happened to Aurora today, then is it possible that in the corners we haven't seen, you have countless such jokes to disturb an ordinary student and who is working hard? The little mistress did what she said. And the surveillance footage was quickly retrieved. In my previous life, because of the love letter incident, I was heckled by my classmates for a long time. They all said that Cain liked me and would play jokes on us from time to time. But this time, after the surveillance footage was shown, the ones being heckled became Cain and Delilah. Everyone called Cain the infatuated guy and asked him to perform the act of playing the hero to save the beauty and being desperate for love again. Every time he was teased like that, his face would turn red. He would even throw books and kick the desk. However, according to human nature, the more he reacted, the more people would come to make fun of him. In the end, he was punished several times for getting into fights with his classmates because of this matter. Delilah wasn't any better off either. The notes in which she insulted me were handed over to the head teacher by Teacher Yu, who also contacted the academic affairs office. With the love letter incident and many other classmates who had once been the targets of Delilah's malicious jokes, standing up one by one to report her. Finally, heading so under various pressures, the school transferred her to an ordinary class. This made the students in the ordinary class very angry. After learning about the love letter incident, as soon as she went to that class, she was taunted. What? Is our class a place to accept bitches? The people in our class don't like joking. We also have students with good grades in our class. And it's not that we begged you to come. You came here on your own accord. Her good friends found out and wanted to cause trouble for those classmates during the break. But thinking about Cain being criticized and punished for fighting, in the end, she could only hold back her tears and pull back her good friends. In the first week after Delilah was transferred away, Cain didn't give up on harassing me. Just like in the previous life, he persistently pursued me. He wrote me a new love letter, saying that he had a crush on me. He stuffed roses into my desk, pasted love stickers on my desk, and left milk tea there. If I threw them away, he would just buy more. I'm not sure what his motives are in this life. Is it to make Delilah angry or just to take revenge on me? But it doesn't matter, because I've never thought of running away all the time. I want them to know that trash should stay in the trash can. Cain took advantage of the fact that there was no one in the classroom during the lunch break and forcefully stuffed a bouquet of flowers into my hand. I pretended not to understand and said, "What do you mean? Chasing you? Aurora, who only knows how to study. Can't you even see that?" I let go of my hand, and the flowers fell directly to the ground. I curled my lips and sneered, "You don't deserve it. Damn it. You're so arrogant." He kicked the flowers away with his foot, but then quickly forced a smile and said, "It doesn't matter. I just like challenges." "Really? Don't let me down then. I'm still waiting to send you to the garbage incinerator." Although my family rented a house in this city, it's still a bit far from the school, and most of the time, my parents have to work the night shift. For safety reasons, I still chose to live on campus. The school gives students half a day off every week in the afternoon. On this day in my previous life, I met a few hooligans. They spoke obscenities and even tried to rob me of my money. It was Cain who showed up and helped me. And at the same time, it brought us closer. From then on, he would send me home at this time every week. I'm not the little girl I used to be. Years of social experience make me feel that this matter may not be that simple. I walked on that road as usual. Then I deliberately had a dispute with those hooligans and let them snatch my bat. The dagger that once threatened me really scratched my arm. There was 5,000 yuan in cash in the bag, which was the bonus I received for getting the first place in the final exam last semester. And it was just issued recently. I specifically went to the bank to withdraw banknotes with consecutive serial numbers. In an instant, a large amount of blood stained my white sleeves with spots of blood. While they were stunned, I ran away as fast as I could. I shouted for help while running. I deliberately got blood all over my clothes. From a distance, it was very eye-catching. Hilariously, Cain somehow chased after me and ran after me. I directly rushed into a store that was open for business and asked the store owner to call the police for me. I said that my scholarship had been robbed and the other party had stabbed me. The people in the store immediately surrounded me. People naturally have a good impression of students, especially those with good academic performance. Cain rushed through the crowd in a flurry and found me. He pretended to be concerned and said, "Aurora, are you okay? What happened? I just wanted to come and help you. But you ran away. How much money was it? I'll compensate you." Isn't it a bit too much to call the police? What if those people target you for revenge? The store owner felt something was wrong and stood between me and him, smiling and saying, "Little classmate, you don't need to worry so much. The public security in Nanchang has always been excellent. We should believe in a society ruled by law. Uncle has already called the police for you." Aurora. This isn't necessary. Is it? Those people are about our age. This will ruin their whole lives. He tried to persuade me in a flustered manner. After all, they were young and couldn't hide things. When several customers in the store saw his expression, they pinned him down to the ground. "You little rascal. Are you guys working in a gang? Why do you keep speaking up for them?" No, Aurora. You know that I couldn't possibly do that. Please explain to them." He looked at me for help. I covered my wound and hid behind the store owner's wife in fear, saying uneasily, "I've already said that I don't like you. Aurora. It's not like that. It's not like that. Please listen to me." He still tried to explain to me. How ridiculously stupid. All men seek their fortune. All men seek their gain. At first, those who lied and still wanted to stick together out of brotherhood and insist that they just disliked me for some reason. Until the police told them about the possible penalties they might face. This incident wasn't as simple as just bullying and harassing classmates. It had escalated into a serious case of robbery and injury. And it happened that Nanchang was preparing to apply for the title of one of the top 10 civilized cities at this time. Naturally, there were strict crackdowns and severe sentences. Soon Cain was exposed. Cain had no way to deny it. There were surveillance cameras at the place where they first met. And there were QQ chat records of their private communication. The investigation of the case was quite fast. Evidence was collected within half a month, and those few people quickly confessed. It was just that the time span from the later review and prosecution to the court trial was several months. During this period, Delilah kept going crazy at me. "Aurora, how could you be so mean? You knew that Cain did those things because he liked you. How could you have the heart to ruin his life?" Before I could speak, Ella, a girl who had reported Delilah for bullying and harassment before, stood up with a flushed face and scolded her. "Who's more despicable than you? If you think hiring someone to hurt others is love, then I wish all the men you meet in the future will like you in this way. Are you looking for death?" Two of Delilah's so-called good brothers stood up together and glared at us. I pulled Ella behind me and retorted provocatively, "Who's looking for death? Don't just talk. Have the guts to do something. You guys are really like a bunch of flies hovering around a piece of shit and chasing after me. Always thinking I'll do something to that piece of shit. But that's just what you flies think, you know? Besides feeling disgusted, I really don't know what to do with you. Aurora. That's enough. What are you so arrogant about? What's so great about you except for getting those scores? Actually, I can't understand the thoughts of shit even more. And I can't explain it to shit either. Because it's just a piece of excrement. You're not in our class anymore. Can you just let your flies carry you away? Country bumpkin. Always talking about shit, urine, and farts. The one who's like shit gets anxious easily. Ella poked her head out and scolded back. "You. If you bother us again, we'll call the security guards." Ella rolled up her sleeves and was about to leave. Delilah stamped her foot in anger and left with those two flies. By the time the sentencing results for Cain and those gangsters came out, it was already the first semester of our senior year of high school. Cain was charged with multiple crimes, including obstructing justice and hiring someone to hurt others. Those small-time gangsters. because of the money in my bag, were found guilty of robbing more than 5,000 yuan and causing injury. The one with the shortest sentence among them was 3 years. And the longest was 7 years. Cain was sentenced to 5 years. That's enough. In this new life. Although he's stupid, I'm quite afraid that he'll remember the previous life and have the information of a prophet. If he gets successful, how can I deal with him? Now it's just right for him to go to jail. I also composed myself and focused on my studies. However, there are too many flies. And they can't be driven away. Delilah is like a piece of stinking excrement, attracting those flies to flock to her one after another. A rumor that exploded on the school's online forum became popular. There were many of my pornographic photos that had been photoshopped in it. Traitor, one of Delilah's so-called good brothers, claimed that he had slept with me. He described it in great detail and even said that if it weren't for the low price, he couldn't get aroused even when facing a huge person like me. People pointed at me when I walked in the school. As expected of flies. They are so despicable that they can even spread pornographic rumors about others. They also got together and gave me a nickname, saying that I was the 50 yuan girl, meaning that I could be slept with for just 50 yuan. I walked up to the 2 boys who were talking and asked, "Is it true?" These 2 were also part of Delilah's brother group. When these lecherous men who only talked big actually confronted me face to face, they stammered. I didn't show them any mercy and immediately called the police on the spot. I said that I was a student of Nanshi Middle School, and I might have been raped while unconscious. The other party also took photos and posted them on the school's online forum. And I wanted to die. I wanted to jump off the school building. If I died, these 2 students beside me, Ronald and Garth, could testify. And everyone in the school was spreading the rumor. As I spoke and cried, I climbed up to the rooftop of the school. The 2 boys panicked and came to pull me. I shouted, "I can't live anymore. Everyone heard what you said. Don't deny it later. If you don't testify, I'll come back as a ghost and kill your whole family." One of them held my arm tightly, and I directly kicked him in the groin. While he was screaming in pain, I rushed to the rooftop of the 5th floor. The police on the other end of the phone kept soothing me, saying that they would come right away and asking me not to do anything extreme. Soon, let out a low sigh, a crowd of students gathered downstairs. I sat on the edge of the fence, and no one dared to come over and pull me. The dean and the principal also came. I cried loudly, "I just want to study quietly. Why won't you let me be? Aurora, don't be agitated. Our school and the police will definitely seek justice for you." The sound of police sirens came from the campus, and the police arrived quickly. Under everyone's soothing, I was humped down while crying so much that my whole body was trembling. The boy who spread the pornographic rumor went weak in the knees and said that he was just joking. The dean couldn't help slapping him and said, "I'm slapping you as a joke too. Is it fun?" Since the police had already been called, all the relevant people were taken to the police station. I claimed that I had been raped while unconscious and couldn't remember the process. The police then asked them where those photos came from. These people soon admitted that the photos were photoshopped. But the number of views on the online forum had already reached tens of thousands. And they had even been posted on Weibo, with the number of views exceeding 1 million. Moreover, the parties involved were over 18 years old. And the impact was extremely bad with serious circumstances. So they faced criminal liability. Their parents rushed over in a hurry and asked Traitor why he had done this. He remained silent and was kicked several times by his father. His mother then cried and asked him, "Is it because of that crazy girl? Is it for her? It has nothing to do with her. I did it voluntarily. If I have to go to jail, then so be it. I'm willing." His mother was so angry that she slapped him and then tried to plead with me. My parents stood in front of me and glared at her angrily, saying, "If you don't teach your own child, isn't it better for the country to teach him for you?" After sending several flies to the police station in a row, I finally had some peace. Traitor's mother was the client of Delilah's family company. She had been a bit annoyed for a long time that Traitor was playing that brotherly ambiguous game with Delilah, which affected his studies. But Traitor had been threatening to kill himself if she didn't give out the business orders. Now that her son had ended up in jail because of this, she was even more furious. Not only did her own company stop giving business to Delilah's family, but she also rallied a group of business friends in the mall to boycott their family together. Before the first semester of senior year ended, Delilah's family went bankrupt. There were more and more people pointing at her in the school, and soon she couldn't stand it and dropped out of school. Before she left, she came to me and told me not to be complacent. She said she was waiting to see my retribution. I said I was looking forward to her efforts, but I was also worried about her intelligence, and I could offer to sponsor her a box of melatonin as a gesture of friendship. In fact, if they hadn't provoked me and hadn't been so reckless, in a society ruled by law, I really wouldn't have found a way to get revenge. Fortunately, they like to make trouble. In this new life, I certainly won't just focus on dealing with those flies. With such a good opportunity, of course, I have to make some money. First, I rescued a small dog by the nearby river. This was a beloved dog that a wealthy woman had offered a reward of 1 million yuan to find in my previous life. Because the amount of the reward was so large, almost the whole city was looking for that dog. It was a pity that in the end, only the dog's body was found by the river. I went to the river to look for it with a let's give it a try attitude. Sure enough, I saw that teddy dog whose leg was entangled by water plants. The wealthy woman kept her promise and directly gave me the reward money. Since I was a minor and didn't have a stock account yet. Fortunately, having felt and fashion, my father trusted me and gave me his stock account to manage during the holidays. By the second semester of senior year, the original capital of my father, plus that 1 million yuan, had been multiplied several times by me. When having a meal with Ms. Liu, I also recommended to stock codes to her. She looked at me in surprise and finally just patted my shoulder and said, "Do whatever you like, but don't fall behind in your studies." My memory is actually quite good. For some questions in science subjects that I took the exam on in the past, I definitely can't remember all of them, but I can roughly remember my wrong questions. I strengthened my practice in this regard. After the college entrance examination ended, I got a full score in mathematics and became the 6th student in Ms. Liu's teaching career to get a full score in mathematics. At the teacher appreciation banquet, I toasted her. She said with some emotion, "Aurora, actually I've never worried about your grades. That I was really worried about your forbearing personality in the past. Fortunately, you've finally changed. People live their lives not to endure grievances. If you encounter any problems in the future and it's not convenient for you to deal with them, you can still come to this old woman for help." It turned out that she actually knew about it at that time. After the college entrance examination, originally my parents had been reluctant to give up their heavy physical labor. They always said that the more money they earned for me, the easier my life would be. However, the factory they worked in suddenly started to ostracize them and arranged for them to work night shifts for half a month in a row. I suddenly remembered the real turning point of my relationship with Cain in my previous life. At that time, my father made a mistake in the style of a certain production line due to work fatigue, resulting in huge economic losses for the factory, and he had to pay more than 100,000 yuan in compensation. I was in my senior year of high school at that time and couldn't afford such a large amount of money at all. It was Cain who came to me and said that he was willing to lend me the money. My pride couldn't withstand seeing the worried faces of my parents. In the end, I owed him a favor. And the order of my life after that was completely disrupted. After I graduated from my master's degree that year, my original plan was to continue pursuing a doctorate degree. But at that time, Cain's family went bankrupt. In order to repay his favor, I chose to enter a company in advance, worked day and night, and even begged my angry supervisor to cooperate with the company with a shameless face, making money to pay off his debts. But in fact, all of this was a self-directed and self-acted play by him. Using my current resources and capital, I quickly found out the intricate connections between that factory and Cain's family. The actual person in charge was a distant relative of their family. The reason why the factory could succeed was that Cain's father helped introduce business orders. In my previous life, there was that inexplicable targeting, and Cain happened to appear so coincidentally to help me. But I remember that I didn't seem to tell anyone in the school about it at that time. I was just young and a bit flustered when I suddenly encountered such a thing. Now that I think about it, there are actually many doubts. How could he appear so timely? And how could he just happen to have that amount of money? Their family wasn't rich enough to casually give Cain more than 100,000 yuan. In this life. The factory owner tried the same trick again. But since my parents didn't have financial pressure, they no longer endured it and directly resigned. Who does he think he is? What right do you have to play with my life like this, and then have the audacity to ask me to atone for Delilah's sins? I'll atone for your father's sins. I immediately reported them to the Labor Bureau for violating labor laws. And through my connections, I dug up many issues such as fire safety, work-related injury handling, and tax burdens since the factory was established. What I have the most of now is time and money. You have money, don't you? You like to play with people, don't you? I'll let you have your fill of it. The stocks, funds, and various investments in my hands enabled my wealth to reach an immeasurable level when I was a sophomore. I seized the opportunity brought by the development of the internet and the real estate industry and dominated the capital market. Before Cain was released from prison, with my absolute financial and networking strength, I drove his family and the relative who had helped him do evil into bankruptcy. His parents also guessed that I was behind it and sent intermediaries to mediate several times. I only sent out one sentence: as long as Cain exists, I will never stop fighting with you all. They thought I was petty. Cain had already paid the price for what happened back then and hadn't been released from prison yet, but I was still holding on to it. However, in the face of absolute strength, no one dared to really oppose me. No matter which industry his parents were in, there would always be someone causing trouble for them. In the end, there was no other way. They moved house as a family until his mother became pregnant with a second child. His father came to me in person and said that they wanted to work hard for a few more years for their children and would never appear in front of me again. Cain's father was a person who valued profit highly. When I was with Cain back then, he looked down on me very much and rarely showed me a good face. As a result, after going bankrupt, I paid off part of their debts. When he saw me again, he smiled like a morning glory. I smiled and said, "What are you talking about, Mr. Cain? I've only held a grudge against one person from beginning to end. As long as everyone minds their own business, we can live in peace." He understood what I meant and quickly left Nanchang with his wife and young child. Cain suddenly became positive and motivated in prison, trying his best to strive for commutation of his sentence, and always trying to find ways to send messages through others. Wanting to see me, I went to see him, and he was extremely excited. "Aurora, you're still alive. You're still alive. That's great. You hate me, don't you?" I immediately understood what he meant and smiled with anticipation. "You're back? That's great. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fun anymore." There was some fear in his eyes, and he took a step back and said, "Aurora, when will this cycle of revenge end?" "It will end when I play you to death. The people in prison are not good people. Cain's small body has to endure it. The feeling of being burned to death alive by fire is really terrible. But it's not easy to directly set fire to him in prison. Fortunately, having fulfilled and thigh, the temperature can be somewhat approximated. So Cain, in prison, would be scalded with boiling water by prisoners with a bad temper from time to time. In the fire in the previous life, he jumped out of the window and escaped, only suffering minor burns. Let's see how he escapes this time. In the following days of Cain, as soon as he appeared in the cafeteria, he would be splashed with hot soup. When he was sleeping at night, even his cellmates would pour boiling water on him. Later, the prison had no choice but to stop providing boiling water and only provide warm water. Even without boiling water, there were fists. He would suddenly be dragged into a corner and beaten up when walking on the road. He was still beaten up even if he changed to another cell. In the end, he had no choice but to curry favor with two big brothers who had special hobbies. But the easy life with these big brothers wasn't that easy to enjoy. He was played around with and ended up in the hospital several times. But he couldn't do anything about it because he had done it voluntarily. The people below asked me if I wanted to find someone to put more pressure on him to make him get into a fight so that his release from prison would be postponed even further. I gently shook my head and refused. Going to prison is such an easy thing. Isn't it? It's not that simple. I'm still waiting for him to truly taste the pain of being burned to death by fire that I once endured. However, I didn't let that crazy woman go either. She has been trying to find a way to take revenge on me recently. Mainly, I've been too busy making money and haven't had the time to properly entertain her. Now it's almost time. Don't you want to make money? I'll give you this opportunity. Delilah. You have to seize it well. She likes to play the brotherhood game, asking her brothers to stand up for her and provide resources. So I introduced a big brother to her. A man who lives off women in the business world had found an old and fierce rich woman but was always restless. He lied to innocent little girls everywhere, saying that he was single. When the truth came out, he shifted all the blame onto those little girls. Then the rich woman vented all her anger on the girls and went back to living a sweet life with him. I asked a friend to organize a gathering, and Delilah met her big brother there. Delilah is pure and beautiful. The two of them hit it off immediately and claimed to be siblings with different fathers and mothers. Soon the rich woman found out and led people to rush into the bar. Delilah rolled her eyes and said, "Some women are just troublesome. They have such a narrow mind. That's why I don't like playing with women. And the scariest thing is old and ugly women. Even more so than ordinary women." The rich woman's eyes turned red with anger, and she directly tore off Delilah's clothes. I don't know how many wine bottles were smashed. Delilah wasn't someone to be trifled with. After her face was disfigured, she found a group of brothers to cause a big commotion and insisted that she was just good friends with that big brother. The rich woman faced her first prison sentence in life. The big brother, who lived off women, was also retaliated against by the rich woman's family, driven out of Nanchang, and had one of his legs broken. Since then, he could only make a living by collecting waste. Without her pretty face, that group of brothers seemed to suddenly realize that she was a woman, not a brother, and gradually distanced themselves from her. Delilah couldn't stand such a blow, and tried every means to restore her appearance through medical cosmetology. But the rich woman was too ruthless. Even after spending all her savings, her face still looked very artificial. As for the compensation that should have been given to her, the rich woman's family mainly adopted the tactic of delay. Just when she was at the end of her rope, her peerless good brother Cain was released from prison. When Cain saw Delilah in such a miserable state, he was convinced that I was behind it and wanted to confront me in person. Unfortunately, he was stopped by my bodyguards, who told him that not just anyone could meet President Aurora. So he began to work hard, hoping to get rich through his efforts and defeat me in the business world. But where was the opportunity? During the years he spent in prison, the world had changed dramatically, and he didn't have the capital to turn things around. His parents had already run away. Not to mention getting rich. He could barely even make ends meet. And Delilah was also helpless and pitiful. The two of them had to depend on each other. Delilah was afraid that when she went out every day, others would say that she had a plastic surgery face. So she stayed in the rental house she shared with Cain all day long, relying on Cain to earn money to support her. Cain tried to contact his friends before he went to prison, but no one paid any attention to him. He had to work as part of the atmosphere group in a bar to make money. After all, he still had a good-looking face. And it was him who was splashed with boiling water in prison. Since we knew each other once, I naturally had to give him a sweet dream. Soon a young, wealthy, and beautiful girl took a fancy to him and began to pursue him. Cain refused at first. After all, he still had Delilah. But the contrast was too stark. One was gentle, beautiful, and rich, while the other had failed in plastic surgery, had a bad temper, and was full of negative energy. Cain's heart began to waver. Delilah was an expert in this regard and quickly noticed it. But Cain refused to admit it. After all, both of them were the kind of people who wouldn't admit it unless they were caught in the act. The beautiful girl would occasionally stimulate him by sending some gifts, such as ties, suits, and underwear. Delilah completely lost her mind. The more she lost her temper, the more impatient Cain became. Finally, having fulfilled, Cain couldn't stand it anymore and slapped her, saying, "If it weren't for you, how could I have gotten involved with that crazy woman Aurora? How could I be living such a miserable life?" During the argument with him, Delilah learned the inside story of the previous life. Both sides thought it was the other's fault. Finally, having fulfilled, in the afternoon when Cain came back to pack his things, Delilah put some medicine in the water she gave him and then set a big fire. When Cain was rescued by the firefighters, he was burned beyond recognition. Ironically, Delilah also jumped out of the window and escaped. But she was later imprisoned for the crime of arson and causing injury. He finally tasted the pain of being burned by fire that I endured in the previous life. Afterward, I gave the beautiful girl a large sum of money. And I was very satisfied with what she had done. Cain was finally discharged from the hospital after staying there for half a year. On his way to find me, he saw me shopping with that beautiful girl. He looked at me resentfully. And I smiled at him and mouthed, "Is it fun?" Just a smile made him run away in a hurry. Later, when I heard news about him, I heard that there was something wrong with his mental state, and he was admitted to a mental hospital. Every day, he would kowtow in front of the window, saying, "Aurora, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please spare me." Or he would shout, "There's a fire. Help. The fire is going to burn me to death." He will live his whole life in the mental illusion of being burned by fire and the fear that I brought him. When wealth accumulates to a certain extent, it's just a number. In this life, my parents are by my side, and I have no financial worries. I continued my studies from the previous life. I don't think the meaning of my life is just about seeking revenge. I always firmly believed that I was born extraordinary. I'm destined to create infinite value. And my existence should make the environment and society I'm in better. Using the money I earned, I built countless rural primary schools and, together with the little old lady, contributed to the cause of education. Free from financial constraints, I devoted myself to experiments and invented one thing after another that I had always wanted in my previous life. There is a smart face analysis app that can quickly search for similar people across the country, through the faces of relatives, and track down the children who are most likely to have been abducted. I developed this because I have a police friend named Jasmine who fights against human traffickers. Her mother was abducted and her life was ruined. I also worked with a team to develop an robot that can directly reach the patient's lesion. It is currently in the experimental stage and will be applied to daily medical treatment in a year or two. Unlike in the previous life when I was involved in the messy brotherhood, those two crazy people. This is the life trajectory that I should have had originally. Fortunately, God gave me a chance to start over. In the future, I believe that my name will be written on a certain page of the history book. I want to make my life truly shine. The end.